Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Saturday, April the 8th, 2023. There are lots of people out there trying to make predictions, and not all of them are using astrology or perhaps palmistry or tarot cards or the I Ching. They're using perhaps their gut feelings, perhaps their particular prejudices are coming into play. And I'm thinking about that determined group of people who think that everything is going to collapse. Now, I'm not saying they're wrong, but one of the most dangerous things you can do is to believe the world is going to collapse. Because if the world doesn't collapse, then you might be in trouble. Now, this collapse is often connected with the dollar. The dollar is going to collapse. The money in our pocket is going to be inflated into nothing. We're going to have to rely on something else. These people are often into gold and silver and Bitcoin because they are real money, supposedly. Certainly gold is. And so who is an example of a person advocating for ownership of these supposed hard assets? Now, one example is Robert Kiyosaki, and he was born on April the 8th. It's his birthday today, April the 8th, 1947. So he would be 70. He'll be 76. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the horoscope of Robert Kiyosaki because it might tell us some interesting stuff about him. Now, if you've never heard of him, he wrote a very famous book, or at least a very best-selling book, called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which was telling you how you should make money, how you should be an entrepreneur, you should get into real estate, all that kind of stuff. And he's quite controversial. He's had various business ventures, which I believe some of them have gone bankrupt. He's been sued. People have criticized his book. Some people have, said his approach to making money is simply not viable. So yeah, he is. He's really. I mean, he's being interviewed all the time. You can see him, for example, on Kitco. That's a company dealing with gold. They often interview him, and he talks about his view of the world, and he's a great talker, and he really indicates that he really believes in what he's doing. So anyway, I'm going to look at his chart because it may show some. It may give some indication about how I like to look at a chart, with particular emphasis on the four elements of fire, earth, air, and water. So let's have a look at Robert Kiyosaki's birth chart. Now, I do not have his time of birth. So all I know that he was born on April the 8th, 1947 in Hilo, Hawaii. Oh, by the way, I will be talking about what's going on today astrologically. I just want to talk about this first. So what's interesting about Robert Kiyosaki's chart, apart from the fact that he's an Aries, is that he has no planets in... he has no planets in Earth signs. He has no planets in Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. And he hasn't got many planets in air signs. Yes, he's got Uranus, Neptune, maybe the North Node, but I don't really count these as planets because these as traditional planets. Effectively, he has a chart which has got no earth, no air. In other words, he's all fire, all water. In fact, he's got a lot of water there. So with all that fire, Sun in Aries, that's the engine of his fire. Yeah, he's got a lot to say. He says it, he comes out with it. But what's perhaps more interesting is his water. He's got Jupiter in Scorpio, Venus in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, Mars in Pisces, Moon possibly in Scorpio, might be in Sagittarius, but let's assume that it's in Scorpio. So with all that stuff in water signs, he's certainly very sensitive to the trends going on around him. And perhaps this explains why his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I think he wrote other books, why they were so incredibly successful, even if they were being criticized. Because he was able to tune into the spirit around him. He knew what made people tick. He could just feel it. And he was able to give people what they wanted. You know, like Bill Gates. I mean, I know Bill Gates, technological genius and all that, but he gave people what they want. Bill Gates has his son in a water sign. Elon Musk's son in a water sign. You know, people who have their sons in water signs, they know what the public want. They know how to give it to them. So that's that is something to consider. That perhaps is the engine. Then, you know, with his sun in Aries, he was able to provide the fire. Now, with all his issues and the criticism, you know, he has been criticized for pushing something that is impossible, trying to get money out of people, to maybe pushing a get rich quick schemes. There's perhaps a Pisces, Venus, Mercury, Mars in Pisces. Pisces can slip and slide, and that's perhaps what we're seeing with Robert Kiyosaki. You know, he can say one thing one moment, one thing another thing the other, listening carefully to what's going on in the world and giving people what they want. And if something perhaps goes out of favor, shifting emphasis. So that may be a big part of who he is. But the lack of earth I find really interesting. When you've got a lack of earth or any lack of any element in a chart, there are two possibilities. You know, you might get, you know, an absence of that, or, you know, maybe someone with a lack of earth may be totally unmaterialistic, or it may be the opposite. They're desperately trying to compensate. And so the lack of earth may be someone who because he doesn't actually have any planets in earth, is desperate to find them. And this may indicate why he is so anxious to make money. It's just really important to him because he doesn't have any planets in earth signs. And maybe when we look at the criticisms of his books, maybe he actually lacks a certain understanding of the core requirements for ordinary people to be financially secure. I mean, it might be surprised because he would, I'm sure, would strongly disagree with that. He would say that's what he's doing, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, giving people a way to make themselves comfortably off. But perhaps he doesn't really get it. And that may be indicated by his lack of earth signs. Similarly, he's got a lack of air signs. There may be a certain inflexibility. And when I look at his videos, I kind of get the feel that he's kind of saying the same thing. You know, he has a life story, which he says he talks a lot about. And I'm wondering, is there really a flexibility? And maybe also with the lack of air signs, he's not really thinking about alternative ways. He's not, you know, there's a certain perhaps lack of flexibility there, and he's making up for it with that sun in Aries. Sun in Aries wants things to happen. Anyway, that's Robert Kiyosaki. He's certainly entertaining. Look at his videos, and it's his birthday, and on the off chance that he's listening to me, I do certainly wish him a happy 76th birthday. Now, as far as what's happening today, in the sky, well, the moon continues to move through Scorpio. Now, yesterday I was really down on moon in Scorpio. I forgot to say one thing about Robert Kiyosaki. One thing I forgot to say. Assuming he's born around midday, he's got an exact moon-Jupiter conjunction. And Moon-Jupiter conjunctions in Scorpio, doesn't matter what sign it is really, the fact that it's conjunct, Moon and Jupiter is an incredibly fortunate conjunction to have. You can be really successful. I mean, other people sometimes suffer because of your success. But overall, Moon-Jupiter conjunction is a great thing to have. Anyway, sorry to go off course there a bit. Anyway, Kiyosaki had Moon in Scorpio. Robert has Moon in Scorpio, probably. And Moon in Scorpio is still there today. But it's in late Scorpio. It's not as bad as it was yesterday. Late Scorpio is losing some of it. When it moves into the last half of Scorpio, the moon loses some of its malefic potential. And so I'm not going to be so down on today's stars. So there are some there's some good stuff going on. Notice how Mercury in Taurus is sextile Mars in Cancer. Now, Mercury-Mars as a combination is about communicating your message with enormous force. And so if you've got something to say, now is certainly the time to say it. You're going to be able to put a lot of energy into your words. And because Mercury's in Taurus, you're going to be able to really put people at their ease, but at the same time make it very clear that you know what you're talking about and you're someone to trust. So that's a really good aspect. What else? Well, there's something quite interesting here. Look at Mercury, it's at 7 Taurus. Look at Uranus, it's at 17 Taurus. Look at Venus, 27 Taurus. You see 10 degrees either side. So in other words, Uranus is on the Mercury-Venus midpoint. Now, Mercury and Venus together are about creative talent. And so when you've got Uranus on the Mercury-Venus midpoint, it's a time when we can be incredibly talented. So if you want to do something wild, particularly of an artistic nature, something which really shows what you can do, or maybe you've got some plan to, might be building work or something like that, but the construction which shows raw talent. Yeah, now is definitely the time to do it. Get your talents out into the open. And because it's in Taurus, you can ground these talents. You can create something which is a lasting monument to what you can actually do. So yeah, that's really, really positive. From a romantic point of view, I mean, I think it's, in many respects, is quite a good day. Vulcan, the hypothetical planet Vulcan, is aspecting the Venus-Mars midpoint, and apparently that is a very, very passionate combination. So if you're in the right relationship, then there could be a lot of passion, and passion that is really constructive, and you and someone else can really get very close to each other. But even if romance isn't what you're interested in, say you want to go to a party, North Node is on Jupiter-Uranus midpoint. The North Node is about contacts. Jupiter-Uranus is about excitement and things happening, and so you can meet people and have some real excitement there. So overall, it could be a fun day, but don't think too hard about tomorrow. You know, the moon is void of course, so it has made its last aspect before leaving the sign. So yeah, don't expect the excitement of today to necessarily carry into tomorrow, which is of course Sunday. So as far as the individual signs are concerned, well, let's see. Aries, 4 stars, productive talks about money. Taurus, 3 stars, tensions start to ease. Gemini, 4 stars, quiet messages, perhaps romantic. Cancer, 4 stars, friends show respect. Leo, 4 stars, creativity at work, assuming you are working. I know it's a Saturday. Virgo, 3 stars. Show some vision. Libra, 2 stars. A financial promise is not a guarantee. Scorpio, 4 stars. Communication brings new prospects. Sagittarius, 2 stars. Something is starting to block the view. I'm saying that because Jupiter, your ruling planet, is getting really close to the Sun. The Sun is moving towards Jupiter, and that could cause some problems. Capricorn, 4 stars. Talent is obvious. Aquarius, 2 stars. Tidy things up, but don't avoid planning. Pisces, 2 stars. In terms of money, you're not seeing the full picture. That's again because of the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. It's in your second house, solar second house, connected with money. Jupiter is a traditional ruler of Pisces, getting a bit close to the Sun. So if astrology doesn't do much for you, then you might want to look at another approach. The I Ching. Yes, I cast some I Ching today, as usual. Was it fortunate? No, I don't know. The I Ching, I'm afraid, is a little bit negative here, because we've got the first I Ching, the first hexagram I got was 53, and 53 on the surface seems great. It's about the development of something moving towards a conclusion, you know. It's all going in the right direction. But it's the lines that bother me. The last line moves. And the last line is about completion, but it's about something that is now over. So there may be a sense of sadness in the sense that you've finished developing something. You've gone as far as you can go, and you're now ready to quit the scene. There's no point in hanging around. You've been a good example. People have learnt from you. They can look at what you taught them. They can put into action. But are you really going to hang around to? Are you going to hang around to see the results? Maybe you're not. Maybe you want to move on, and because development moves to hexagram 36, which is the darkening of the light. That means like you've done what you can, but now it's over. So, so there is a sense of sadness, but there should also be a sense of completion. You've done what you had to do, and now you are moving on to something else. So, that's what I've got to say for today. And I will see you tomorrow on Sunday. And of course, have a great weekend.